From the Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, we will cover the impact of yesterday's winter conditions and take a look at how down East Maine braced for the storm. Plus, a Casco man is facing a long list of charges following a series of alleged mishaps on Valentine's Day. And many flights were delayed or canceled at the Bangor International Airport, where travelers were feeling those effects. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop. Craig Colson is off for the day. We'll have those stories and much more coming up. And as always, we thank you for joining us. The weather has definitely calmed down this morning. It is still a little bit windy and definitely cold. We'll start off this morning by getting a first check of our forecast. Devin Biggs joins us now.
All right, Janessa, thank you very much. Things starting to calm down slowly. We have a gale warning up until later this morning. A small craft advisory also up until later this afternoon. As we do move forward, we do have some snow reports that have come in still along Washington County. Around 11 inches of snow fell, and farther down toward the south and west, around 7.5 inches too. Along the coast, some strong winds also being reported that have knocked power out too. Meanwhile, the area low pressure that brought the blizzard-like conditions has now tracked off toward the north and east, so things starting to calm down now. Still some gusty winds that will be an issue as we do move forward, but much calmer conditions as we do get this area of low pressure out of here. So futurecast for today, here we go, a partly cloudy sky so power crews can get out and restore power along the coast. And then as we do move forward in your Wednesday, here we are. We do have more snow on the way. Nothing dramatic compared to what we had recently. But as for the winds, still some gusty winds up to around 30 miles per hour today. The winds will gradually back off later on tonight. The hourly forecast moving forward, here we go. We'll be under a partly to mostly cloudy sky today. Temperature is in the 20s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. Yesterday, state officials urged Mainers to be prepared and stay informed as the latest blast of winter hit the state. While the storm conditions have subsided early this morning, public safety officials warn there is still reason to be cautious while traveling. Our Grace Blanchard with more.
The main thing we want people to do is do not venture out on the roads. Do not go anywhere unless you absolutely have to.
The Maine Emergency Management Agency is warning Mainers that once the snow comes to a halt, the wind could continue to create additional problems.
There's still going to be blowing and drifting, which is going to cause whiteout conditions. So sure, the storm is over, but that doesn't mean it's safe to venture out yet.
The windy conditions are also expected to create challenges for utility crews.
When winds are above 35 miles an hour, crews can't go up in a bucket to conduct repairs. They have to wait for the winds to subside.
Versant Power and Central Maine Power have been staffing extra crews at service centers statewide in anticipation of outages.
Very, very important to give our crews safe space to work. If you are out there, give them space to do their job safely and as quickly as they can.
If you do lose power as a result of the storm, safety officials urge Mainers to take important steps, including keeping freezers and refrigerators closed and only use a generator outdoors and away from windows. MEMA's public information officer also says when storms strike, it's important to check on any neighbors or friends who may need assistance.
Plan for power outages and take care of your neighbors or anyone who's elderly or sick. Friends, family, check on people.
In Bangor, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Blizzard conditions across down East Maine were among some of the strongest. Our Alex Schley shows us how coastal communities braced for the impact.
As whiteout conditions rolled into down East Maine, residents in Southwest Harbor prepared for another nor'easter.
Living here, you never really know what you're going to get.
For coastal communities, the water can be just as much, if not more, of a concern than the snow.
So these conditions present extreme risk, even to the most experienced of boaters. We highly encourage people in these types of conditions to stay off the water. It's the safest place to be.
By lunchtime in Southwest Harbor, the marina was a ghost town, with no harbor master or deckhands in sight. Many fishermen chose not to take the chance, hauling their boats out well before the first gusts arrive.
And there are others that keep their boats in, but the harbors are a lot more protected.
And with nor'easters also comes the threat of coastal flooding. In 2024, back-to-back storms forced officials to close this portion of Seawall Road.
Then we had a bunch of things in conjunction. So we had like king tides. We had this huge wind. We had I know there was another factor I'm forgetting right now, but like literally all the planets were in alignment.
Gill says she watched from her back porch as waves swallowed the road.
It was certainly something to see, especially when massive wave came across the road and was part of what took it out.
The road has since been rebuilt, designed to withstand future storms.
The road has never, ever been in at least that good of a shape as long as I've seen it.
But despite the preparations, residents say you can never be too certain.
You never know, and it's always wonderful. It's always just really something to see.
In Southwest Harbor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, travelers were feeling the effects at the Bangor International Airport. Many flights were delayed or canceled because of the poor weather conditions. Foot traffic at the airport certainly slowed down. We caught up with one woman traveling to Florida who really planned ahead and arrived at the airport 7 hours early in the hopes of still reaching her destination.
If I can get to the airport, then I can just hunker down here. It's already been delayed till 8:30, so my hope is that I don't have to travel back and wait until tomorrow, but I'm hopeful that old man winter will calm a little bit and let me get out tonight.
It's unclear exactly how long the storm will affect flights, so make sure to check with your airline for any updates to your flight status. One area is actually wishing they were getting more snow from the storm. Katahdin region businesses rely heavily on outdoor recreation this time of year. They say the season got off to an earlier start with snow in December, but they could always use more.
The Katahdin region has pivoted more toward an outdoor recreation economy as certainly a key factor in the economy of the Katahdin region. It's critical that snow and cold be part of our landscape here for a good 3 months.
Fanjoy says this season has definitely been an improvement compared to the past couple of years. She says the trails are being well maintained for plenty of snow sledding, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing. Well, members of local law enforcement say as the weather intensified yesterday, they noted a significant decrease in travelers out on the road. Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton and Belfast Police Chief Bob Cormier agreed that was a good sign that Mainers were adhering to public safety guidance, giving first responders the space to address some minor incidents that occurred.
These are Maine folks. We're used to traveling in tough conditions, and certainly by this time of the year, folks are getting used to it. But it is important to make sure that you're planning ahead a little bit.
We're seeing some really high wind gust, and so 1 minute you're driving along and it looks like just an average snowstorm, and then the next minute it's like whiteout conditions, and it catches you off guard. So I think it's really it's good for people to stay off the road when it's a storm like this because it's very unpredictable.
Well, in other news this morning, the Washington County Sheriff's Office says deputies were fired upon as they were searching a residence in Steuben on Friday. The Sheriff's Office says deputies went to 71 Augusta Drive in Steuben to conduct a warrant check. A subsequent probation search of the residence ended in the arrest of 42-year-old Corey Perry and 26-year-old Lauren Anderson for unlawful possession of scheduled drugs. Later, deputies were executing a search warrant for the residence when the Sheriff's Office says they came under fire from 4 suspects who had allegedly fled the residence previously. The 4 were located and arrested. The Sheriff's Office says they were found in possession of roughly 272 grams of cocaine, roughly 4 grams of fentanyl, and a little over $1,300 in cash. The 4 were identified as Erlen Diaz Gomez, Florida Gonzalez Adame, and Urame Alberto Bayex, all from Boston, Massachusetts, as well as Nina Willie of Steuben. They face a variety of drug and weapons charges. Lauren Anderson posted bail, and the others are being held in Washington County Jail. Police are still investigating a crash that killed a woman who was putting gas in her vehicle. A little before 11:30 on Sunday morning, police and EMS were called to the Big Apple convenience store on Upper Main Street in Waterville. Waterville Police Chief William Bonney says their initial investigation indicates a Subaru driven by 70-year-old Richard Moyen of Strong was turning right onto Main Street when it struck a Cadillac driven by 57-year-old Kenneth Hughes of Waterville. Chief Bonney says after the initial collision, the Cadillac left the roadway and struck a vehicle parked at the gas pump at the Big Apple. 37-year-old Michelle Bruce of Madison was struck while refueling her vehicle. She died at the scene. Police say a Casco man is facing a long list of charges following a series of alleged mishaps on Valentine's Day. Kennebec County Sheriff's Chief Deputy Chris Reed says a deputy attempted to stop a BMW on Water Street in Hallowell after observing a disturbance. Reed says the car took off on Water Street and traveled over 100 miles per hour before going on to Shady Lane, where it crashed into a stump. He says the driver then took off on foot. A short time later, the alleged suspect, who police identified as 35-year-old Ryan Benoit, was arrested near Jamie's Pond. Reed says later that day a backpack was located near the crash site that matched another bag in the BMW. He says the bag contained a large amount of illegal narcotics. Benoit is facing 8 different charges, including eluding an officer, trafficking cocaine, operating without a license, and driving to endanger. His bail has been set at $60,000 cash. The time now is 8:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, the Red Cross plans to discontinue mobile blood services in northern Maine. We'll take a look at those changes coming up. But first, let's take another look at our forecast. For today, partly cloudy and windy with highs around 30 degrees. Overnight tonight, partly cloudy as well with temperatures dropping down to 0. And for tomorrow, mostly cloudy with another snow chance, highs around 33. We'll be right back.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Come in and visit AMHG Works, Bangor's #1 gift shop, located at 36 Springer Drive in the Rennie's Plaza. We have special gifts for you, your furry companion, and that special someone you are in need of a gift for. It's worth a trip in for unique American-made gifts. Here at AMHG Works, everything is American-made, and we are open 7 days a week for your convenience. American-made home goods. We look forward to seeing you.
At Maine's #1 Kia dealer, Darlings Kia, you can't miss in 2026. Drive a brand new all-wheel drive Sportage for only $299 a month, or buy a new Kia SUV for under $20,000. Plus, every new Kia comes with our 10-year or 100,000-mile warranty. The best in the business. You can't miss this and more at Darlings Kia. The best cars, the best prices, and the best warranty. You'll do better at Darlings.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Our names were whispered through time, from generation to generation.
Don't you feel that there are things that cannot be explained?
God has a destiny for us.
Surely nothing is impossible for God.
The Red Cross plans to discontinue mobile blood drives in northern Maine. A statement sent out by the American Red Cross Northern New England says, in part, quote, after careful consideration, the American Red Cross will discontinue mobile blood drives in many parts of Aroostook, Hancock, Penobscot, Piscataquis, Somerset, Waldo, and Washington counties, effective July 2026. This change is driven by logistical challenges and rising operational costs and helps ensure we use our resources efficiently while continuing to serve patients, end quote. According to that statement, the adjustment will not affect the availability and distribution of blood or blood products. They encourage donors to keep giving at the Red Cross Blood Donation Center at 900B Hammond Street in Bangor. Blood drives will continue in Belfast, Fairfield, Newport, Pittsfield, and in Skowhegan. 13 Red Cross employees will be impacted by those changes. The statement says some will be offered the opportunity to transfer to the Red Cross fixed site operation. Back in December, we told you about the Machias community rallying to help a woman with leukemia. When the folks at Helen's Restaurant heard former employee Suzanne Lewis had been diagnosed with leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant, they took to social media to raise awareness. Suzanne gave them her blessing, hoping it might help others in her position along the way. Well, that post on Facebook about her needing a donation got lots of attention, and we have a very happy update. Suzanne has announced a match has been found. She says it's very overwhelming to hear that someone is that selfless to help a complete stranger, and she is feeling very blessed. Well, the time now is 8:15. After the break tonight, President Trump will address the nation as he tries to calm voters ahead of midterm elections. Plus, much of the Northeast seeing record-breaking snow totals. We'll check in with our New England neighbors as Good Morning Maine continues.
A few weeks ago, I went down to the basement to see what was happening with the boilers and opened the door, and there was about 12 to 14 inches of water in our basement. I knew who to call right away, and that was Bouchard. They were here within a half hour. They work well with our insurance company. They're very, very efficient, and all I have to do is call them any time of day. They're going to take care of me. Our business is our life, and that's why I don't hesitate to recommend them to other people.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all.
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing when you finance with GM Financial. Or qualified lessees can get this Silverado pickup for around $399 a month.
You're driving down the road, and out of nowhere, boom! You're hurt in a car accident. Now you've got expensive medical bills, lost earnings, and you've got to deal with that insurance company. The problems just keep piling up. When you call the twos, I'll handle all of those problems. All you have to do is get better while I work to get you paid. Hurt in a car accident? I'm on top of it. I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
The aftermath of the record-setting winter storm that locked down large parts of the Northeast, leaving snow and damage behind. ABC's Lionel Moyes is in New York with more on that historic blizzard.
The historic blizzard that paralyzed the Northeast finally winding down, but not before leaving behind massive snow totals and creating dangerous conditions across the region. The so-called bomb cyclone dumping more than 3 feet of snow in parts of Rhode Island, setting a new record.
The blizzard of 26 has now officially surpassed the blizzard of 78 for the most snow ever recorded in a single snowstorm in our Rhode Island state history.
More than 30 inches falling throughout hard-hit Massachusetts. Officials say it could be days before electricity is restored to the more than 250,000 customers in the state without power. In New Jersey, trees crashing down onto utility lines, leaving many in the dark.
You either got to get our power on or plow, because we don't want to sleep here tonight.
In New York City, trees buckling under the weight of the heavy snow. On Long Island, winds topping 80 miles per hour, creating whiteout conditions, making driving treacherous. Outside Boston, cars sliding down roads, others stuck along the highway. Even plow trucks struggled. At times, conditions were so severe, cleanup operations had to be paused. The storm also bringing air travel to a halt. Snow burying runways and grounding thousands of flights. Airlines warning it could take days to fully recover.
You can't see anything because I can't see anything. It is a total whiteout. Right now, no planes are taking off or landing.
And as people begin digging out, some are taking advantage of the snow-covered streets. One man in Rhode Island strapped on his snowboard to go riding through the neighborhood. More snow is expected across the region tonight and later this week, but temps are expected to remain above freezing, which will definitely help melt all of that snow. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Speaking of weather, let's get a full look at our forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
All righty, Janessa, thank you very much. Some advisories here. Gale warning will drop later this morning. A small craft advisory will also expire later on this afternoon. Meanwhile, wave height still rather active at around 7 to 14 feet. And farther out towards sea, look at this, 37-foot wave heights according to this buoy, and 21-foot wave heights just farther off toward the south and west. Meanwhile, look at some of the wind reports that we had recently. 68-mile-per-hour winds around Frenchboro and other areas seeing up to 40 to 45-mile-per-hour winds, and even 52-mile-per-hour winds according toward Portland. So many of these areas lost power because of the winds that passed through yesterday. So power crews are going to be out trying to restore power. But in the meantime, a couple areas that saw snow, 11 inches in Jonesboro, that's over in Washington County, and 7.5 inches near Seawall, and that's further off towards the south and west. So a lot of snow along the coast, not as much further off towards the north and west. And now the area of low pressure is tracking off towards the north and east, so the snow is backing off. We'll still have some clouds today, but gradually breaking up throughout the day. The northeast is starting to look a lot calmer, but we will have another area of low pressure on the way later on this week. So here we go. Partly to mostly cloudy today, and then later on tonight, still some passing clouds that will gradually break up. And then for tomorrow, we'll have more clouds moving in. There's some snow right there by about midday. We'll see most of the snow backing up, but still a few snow showers as we head towards early Thursday morning. Not a lot of snow, though, about 1 to 2 inches possible before we're all finished up. So nothing too dramatic compared to what we had recently. So overall for today, here we go, 30 degrees, partly cloudy, maybe mostly cloudy and windy, northwest wind at about 30 miles per hour. By tonight, partly cloudy with a low near 0, and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, 33 degrees, mostly cloudy with snow and that southeast wind near 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy for your Thursday with highs in the mid-30s. Mid-30s again for your Friday under a mostly sunny sky. Mostly cloudy again for your Saturday with highs in the low 40s.
We all have a friend who loves the McDonald's hot, crispy Filet-O-Fish. My friend, you could be that friend.
Choose between 2 Filet-O-Fish and 2 10-piece McNuggets, or mix and match for $6.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
A little winter weather never stopped Old George or Toyota from offering incredible savings to celebrate his birthday on vehicles from the longest-lasting brand at the Toyota Washington's Birthday Savings Event. You could get an affordable $179 a month lease on a fun Corolla sedan with a total contract cost of $11,600. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Come get your savings in honor of Old George at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Hank's Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hank's Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
With McValue at McDonald's, get deals that keep the party going.
It only takes $5 to fire up the flavor with the hot and spicy McChicken. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Across the country, Americans are experiencing affordability challenges driven by high inflation and elevated interest rates. Before the 2024 elections, voters consistently rated affordability as a top concern, and it remains a key issue for Americans. ABC's Melissa Dawn explains the financial impacts we are seeing from the housing market to rising household debt and increasing cost of goods.
Across the country, many families are dealing with an affordability crisis.
People can't afford houses,
leading many to struggle with difficult decisions.
Whether to go see the doctor or to pay for my kids' school supplies.
An affordability crisis looms over Americans. President Trump continues to visit states touting the economy, but many say they are still facing difficulties.
People that are living paycheck to paycheck are just finding it a struggle to, pay rent, meet utility costs, pay for those day-to-day items that they encounter.
The price of childcare is also financially impacting families. According to LendingTree, childcare estimates rival rent costs in many of the largest metro areas in the country, influencing some parents to quit their jobs, like Casey Myers in Texas.
Daycare prices, ultimately, it just was my income, so we decided for me to stay home with the kids and homeschool.
When we're talking about inflation, the first place people often look is here in a grocery store, where right now the average price for a dozen eggs is about $2.50 nationwide. And here in this Arizona grocery store, the cheapest ones we see are $2.99.
It used to be you could go in and buy a bunch of onions for 25 cents a bunch. Now they're 99 cents a bunch.
Prices have inflated not just for food, but personal care items as well. Data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reveals the cost of items for hair, dental, shaving, and other personal care products have gone up by 18% from 2020 to 2025.
I usually do go for cheaper things just because my budget is pretty small. I don't really care about the brands anymore just because I can't afford the big ones.
A trend that seems to be outpacing the typical budget. Melissa Dawn, ABC News, Tucson, Arizona.
Tonight, President Trump is set to deliver his State of the Union as he addresses voters on his plans for the future. It comes as a recent poll shows the majority of Americans disapprove of the job he's doing so far. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more from Washington.
Tonight, President Trump will address the nation as he tries to calm voters' economic concerns ahead of midterm elections. It comes as markets tumbled Monday amid fresh uncertainty over trade and tariffs. On Friday, the Supreme Court struck down tariffs the president had imposed on nearly every country using an emergency powers law. The president criticizing the justices following their decision.
And I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country.
Trump now says he will pursue a global tariff of 15%, arguing it would protect American industry. FedEx has announced it's filing a lawsuit joining a growing list of companies, asking the federal government to repay tariffs they say were collected before the court's ruling. Foreign policy also expected to be front and center tonight as 2 U.S. aircraft carriers were dispatched to the Middle East amid tensions with Iran. In recent days, the president has said he's considering a limited strike amid a major U.S. military buildup in the region.
Almost half of the deployable air power of the whole United States military is now in the region. This is the biggest buildup in over 20 years. So it's more than just a negotiating ploy.
The latest ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll shows 60% disapprove of how Trump is handling his job as president, while only 39% approve.
That is the highest numerical disapproval since he started his second term. Costs are a top issue as voters decide who they're going to cast ballots for in these midterm elections.
And the Democratic response will come from Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, the first woman to serve as governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
The world is marking 4 years since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A key government official in Ukraine says it's been a long struggle, but the Ukrainians will not give up. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palkot has more from Kyiv.
4 years ago this week, Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. It first looked like a rout by the Russians, but they got bogged down and Ukraine counterattacked. We watched at least part of the way with former boxing champion and Kyiv mayor Vitaly Klitschko. Here's what he says now.
Russia is aggressor and we defend. We defend our homeland, we defend our future, we defend our values, and we defend the right to be the part of European family, part of the democratic world. We're fighting for that.
There have been several rounds of three-way negotiations between Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S., but there hasn't been much progress. And with the fighting stuck on the front line, Moscow had found a new way to punish the Ukrainians.
You're looking at Russia's Cold War against Ukraine. This massive power plant was hit by Russian missiles and drones in recent days. People here are trying to get it working again.
Never have the attacks been so strong, rarely the winter so cold. Air defenses fend off Russian assaults, but some get through, demanding critical repairs.
We have survived dozens of attacks. Almost all the equipment here has been damaged more than once.
Even miners had to be brought in to clear away the rubble.
We must understand, if there is no heat, then the children will not eat and the elderly will freeze. So we're working for a common cause.
During the worst of it, people huddled in heating shelters to get through freezing nights. With the help of these workers, the locals are making it through the winter and Russia's attacks.
They were trying to break spirit of Ukrainians. And of course, they were not successful.
Still, Ukrainians like ex-boxer Klitschko are keeping the fighting spirit alive. He told us when he was in the ring he had one slogan, never give up. And, so far at least, the Ukrainians haven't. In Kyiv, Greg Palkot, Fox News.
Non-emergency staff evacuate the U.S. Embassy in Beirut amid growing tensions with Iran. The State Department ordered the departure of all non-essential staff and eligible family members on Monday. While the department did not state an official reason for the evacuation, the move comes as President Trump orders a military buildup of forces in the Middle East. The president said last week, quote, "Bad things will happen if the country is not able to reach a deal regarding its nuclear program." Reports say Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has tightened control over Hezbollah, a terrorist group in Lebanon, as potential U.S. military strikes loom. The department said the decision to remove non-essential staff will be temporary. Trump gave Iran a deadline of 10 to 15 days to reach a deal last Thursday. Americans in parts of Mexico are being told to shelter in place. The area around Puerto Vallarta is a virtual war zone following the weekend death of one of the world's most ruthless drug kingpins. Fox News senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner has details from the State Department.
Apparently, a part of Mexico that folks thought was very safe has, turned the other way.
American tourists in Mexico are facing a second night under State Department shelter-in-place orders for Puerto Vallarta and surrounding areas. This after Mexican security forces took out the leader of the notorious Jalisco cartel, known as El Mencho.
It is up there with Sinaloa as being one of the deadliest cartels and one of the main producers of fentanyl that traffics onto U.S. streets.
El Mencho's henchmen responded by taking to the streets, killing dozens of people and setting the city ablaze. Stores, gas stations, roadways, all burned.
It was surreal because we're going to the airport and we're dodging burned out cars in the middle of the street.
Flights in and out of the area were grounded.
There's no coming in and out of the city unless you own a vehicle.
Mexico's president is urging calm.
The most important thing at this moment is to guarantee the peace and security of the entire population of all of Mexico.
Meanwhile, Mexican officials are disclosing new details on the operation.
Through military intelligence work, we located a trusted person of one of El Mencho's romantic partners who transported her to a facility in the town of Tapala, Jalisco. At that location, she met with El Mencho.
Mexican officials plan to arrest El Mencho there, but he opened fire and fled to nearby woods where he was later found.
El Mencho came out. They left behind a group with a large quantity of weapons. It really was a very violent attack.
He died from gunshot injuries. The White House says the U.S. played a vital role in the operation. Trump officials, quote, provided intelligence that Mexican officials relied upon.
He promised to stop the flow of fentanyl, secure the border, prosecute and go after the cartels. Part of this is working with our allies like Mexico.
Tonight, Aeromexico says the company hopes to resume their operations gradually, but the State Department says Americans in the area in Mexico should continue to hunker down. There are no government evacuation flights planned as of now. At the State Department, Jillian Turner, Fox News.
Now to other news in Los Angeles. Rob Reiner's son, Nick Reiner, in court pleading not guilty to murdering his parents. And Conan O'Brien breaking his silence about the holiday party he held the night before. Here's Trevor Alt with more.
Tonight we're seeing Nick Reiner on camera for the first time since he was charged with the murders of his parents. Iconic director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. Nick Reiner today appearing in a Los Angeles courtroom pleading not guilty.
A plea of not guilty is entered on behalf of Mr. Reiner.
With his recently appointed public defender, Reiner sat calmly behind a glass partition. Reiner has a well-known history of mental health and substance abuse problems. The night before his parents were found stabbed to death in their L.A. home, sources say Nick and his father got into an argument at Conan O'Brien's holiday party where Nick was described as acting strangely. O'Brien is now breaking his silence in an interview with The New Yorker.
To have that experience of saying goodnight to somebody and having them leave and then find out the next day that they're gone, I think I was in shock for quite a while afterwards.
And it is still possible Nick Reiner could change his plea to not guilty by reason of insanity. He is now due back in court at the end of April. Trevor Alt, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Now the latest in the search for Nancy Guthrie. Sources say the masked man seen at her doorbell camera may have been there at her front door days before police say she was abducted. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
This morning, sources familiar with the investigation telling ABC News that this masked man suspected of abducting the grandmother did not strike at random. He had scouted her home before the night she was taken. Look closely at these images released by the FBI earlier this month. Sources now say this image, showing the suspect without a backpack, was captured on Guthrie's Nest camera prior to her February 1st abduction. The Pima County Sheriff pushing back, saying that theory did not come from his office, and that absence of timestamps means that theory is purely speculative. Investigators believe the suspect might have approached the door on a previous night, noticed the camera, and was scared off. He then returned later, this time seen with a flashlight in his mouth, tampering with the camera and using branches to conceal the lens before forcing his way in, leaving behind drops of Guthrie's blood on the front porch.
The fact that there was preparation and planning, which makes it more of a sophisticated type of criminal activity than someone just showing up.
That gap in time reveals why detectives are now urgently asking neighbors to comb through their own security footage, going all the way back to January 1st, a full month before Guthrie vanished. And as investigators chase down this new timeline today, the boots on the ground are not letting up.
We're Tucson people, and we all got to stick together.
Volunteers spent the weekend scouring the rugged brush around the property, determined to find any trace of Nancy Guthrie, but investigators asking them to let professionals do the job. Meanwhile, a growing memorial outside Nancy Guthrie's home, as well-wishers show support and solidarity with the Guthrie family.
Just keep positive, keep your chin up, and let's believe and let's create the energy to make this happen, make her come back safe.
Sophie Flay, ABC News, New York.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, a cancer survivor from Brownville is using her talents to create art inspired by Mother Nature. This and more as Good Morning Maine continues.
Poor insulation is the origin of your heating and cooling complications. We are Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We are the local energy saving experts. We identify the problem areas and provide customized solutions that leave your home comfortable and your energy bills affordable. Whether it's a drafty attic or poorly sealed ductwork, we have your back and more. Financing is available. For a no-cost, no-obligation estimate, call Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We fix uncomfortable homes.
From pop music legends Cyndi Lauper and Broadway's Harvey Fierstein, Kinky Boots, the Tony and Grammy-winning feel-good best musical about seizing your destiny and being who you want to be. Be inspired by the Broadway show that has captured hearts around the world. Kinky Boots, March 3rd, Cross Insurance Center. On sale at Ticketmaster.com.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
TSA says PreCheck will remain open despite the Department of Homeland Security saying it would close down during the partial government shutdown. The partial shutdown went into effect on February 14th after lawmakers could not come to a deal on legislation to fund DHS. The department reserved its own statement in the early afternoon on Sunday, updating it to say a suspension of global entry was occurring, but the department removed its mention of PreCheck. One traveler flew from Fort Walton Airport in Florida to Dallas Love Field on Sunday. She says she had no issue getting through TSA PreCheck on her trip.
When we got to the airport this morning, everything was working like usual. So I went through the PreCheck line and got a little card and, just went through. Some of my friends did regular check-in, so it just was all normal. Didn't seem like anything had changed.
Announcement came as the major winter storm hit most of the East Coast. Now let's turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
All right, Janessa, thank you very much. Things starting to calm down slowly. We have a gale warning up until later this morning. A small craft advisory also up until later this afternoon. As we do move forward, we do have some snow reports that have come in still along Washington County. Around 11 inches of snow fell, and farther down toward the south and west, around 7.5 inches too. Along the coast, some strong winds also being reported that have knocked power out too. Meanwhile, the area low pressure that brought the blizzard-like conditions has now tracked off toward the north and east, so things starting to calm down now. Still some gusty winds that will be an issue as we do move forward, but much calmer conditions as we do get this area of low pressure out of here. So futurecast for today, here we go, a partly cloudy sky so power crews can get out and restore power along the coast. And then as we do move forward in your Wednesday, here we are. We do have more snow on the way. Nothing dramatic compared to what we had recently. But as for the winds, still some gusty winds up to around 30 miles per hour today. The winds will gradually back off later on tonight. The hourly forecast moving forward, here we go. We'll be under a partly to mostly cloudy sky today. Temperature is in the 20s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Janessa?
Thank you, Devin. Still to come here this morning, we'll learn how to reduce, reuse, and recycle all while shopping. Don't go away.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With decades of experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
I worry, will the next generation of Americans grow up with the friends and mentors and teachers and coaches who shaped us? Will they value their creativity now that anything can be imagined by an app? Will they learn to think for themselves and find work to support their family? I worry that AI is being designed to replace us and used in ways it never should be. That's why we should have a say in the future of AI.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon. You had me a trash panda. That was gangster. It pays to choose wisely. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Last season, IndyCar champ Alex Palou rewrote the history books.
Can anyone catch it?
So what's next?
As a growing number of people turn to bulk shops to cut down on waste, experts say there's things folks can be doing to make sure their efforts to be sustainable have a better chance of paying off. Fox News' Sean Langle takes a closer look.
Bulk shops let customers looking to reduce their environmental impacts reuse containers to stock up on food and household supplies, rather than constantly buying new products in single-use packages.
We've been open for 6 years, so we have customers who've been refilling the same containers for 6 years. So just imagine how much waste they've personally stopped consuming.
Many who shop at these types of stores say it's their way of limiting waste.
You can't solve the big problems, but I can do my small part, and I think that's important.
And when it comes to the 3 R's of waste management, which stand for reduce, reuse, and recycle, many sustainability experts recommend trying to reuse products before recycling them.
What a lot of people do not realize is that reduce, reuse, recycle is a priority order.
Citing how reusable containers are typically made with more materials to sustain a lot of use, and how reusing them extends their life, limiting the energy needed to transport them to and process them at recycling plants. Consumers should also be mindful of using too much water and energy to clean reusable containers in between refills, which could trigger environmental impacts. Folks are also advised to pay attention to the emissions it takes to travel back and forth to bulk stores to make sure they're not counteracting their sustainability goals by driving up their carbon footprints in other areas. Sean Langle, Fox News.
One of the sights of the Winter Olympics in Italy makes sure pets have their place in sharing the spotlight of Olympic glory. Cortina, Italy was not only a games competition hotspot, but a pet-friendly place for this year's Olympics. The little court, as its name means, likes to court pets to come alongside owners who didn't want to leave them at home during the games. Cortina's hospitality operators say pets show up with owners in fan zones, walking the streets, watching matches like curling, or otherwise just hanging out. Cortina offers convenient places for pets, including meadows, forests, lakes, and there's even a dog wellness salon there. And if you're into the rare atmosphere of high-end pet fashion, bring lots of money because you can also buy pet luxury items in a local boutique for those dogs. Now for the latest on what's happening in Hollywood, here's ABC's Alex Stone.
Meet my Emily in Paris.
She's paid tribute to Audrey Hepburn multiple times in Emily in Paris, and now Lily Collins will be playing the late star on the big screen. Collins will star in a new movie about the making of Hepburn's 1961 Oscar-winning film Breakfast at Tiffany's. The truth will be out there again. Hulu greenlighting a reboot of The X-Files from Sinners director Ryan Coogler. Danielle Deadwyler will star as one of 2 FBI agents investigating unexplained phenomena. The original X-Files, starring David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, ran for 9 seasons on Fox and spun off 2 movies. On March 14th, Harry Styles will be returning to Saturday Night Live to pull double duty. He'll be the show's host and the musical guest, something he most recently did back in 2019. On March 6th, the singer and actor releases his new album called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally.
I wanna be yours, pretty baby. Yours and yours alone.
And rocker George Thorogood is 76 today. That's what's happening in Hollywood. I'm Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Coming up on the broadcast, Devin Biggs has our full weather forecast. Don't go away.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
In winter, accidents can happen in an instant. From icy sidewalks to winter roads, there are close calls around every corner. And when a close call becomes something more, insurance companies won't always look out for you, but we will. For over 50 years, the law offices of Joe Bornstein have helped injured Mainers. Accidents happen to be our specialty. When it's more than a close call, call Joe.
At the County Federal Credit Union, we value the trust our members place in us to act in their best interest. Whether it's providing low rates on consumer loans or raising money to end hunger, we work hard to serve our members and the communities in which they live. We are excited to bring the meaningful and impactful work we do to all Mainers as we continue to grow. Wherever you are in life's journey, count on the county to be your financial partner.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Welcome back, everyone. A cancer survivor in Brownville is finding both hope and healing by creating oil paintings inspired by Mother Nature. Our Jody Hersey with more.
Inside her Brownville home, Peggy Clark Lumpkins is creating a masterpiece on canvas.
I don't think I have a photographic memory. Like, I'll go on a walk and I'll see something and it just goes click.
Peggy grew up in New York City and went on to study art in both high school and college until Maine wooed her here in 1987.
Just wanted to be in a natural place.
Peggy paints every day during the winter. Nothing can prevent her from picking up her tools, not even cancer.
Like, I recently went through chemo. Just the whole idea of cancer can be a nightmare. But I would pick up my paintbrush and there was no cancer, you know? Like, there was nothing else there except just that moment.
Peggy spends as much time outdoors as she can, and during the summer and fall, she travels throughout the state for art shows.
I do 10 shows a year. I mean, everybody comes here. So my work is all over the country, just from the people who've come here to the main shows.
Peggy says she believes painting can be healing, whether you are the one creating it or gazing at it.
I'm just so glad to be alive, you know, and to be able to do the things that I love. That's what life's about, right?
In Brownville, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
All righty, Janessa, thank you very much. Some advisories here. Gale warning will drop later this morning. A small craft advisory will also expire later on this afternoon. Meanwhile, wave height still rather active at around 7 to 14 feet. And farther out towards sea, look at this, 37-foot wave heights according to this buoy, and 21-foot wave heights just farther off toward the south and west. Meanwhile, look at some of the wind reports that we had recently. 68-mile-per-hour winds around Frenchboro and other areas seeing up to 40 to 45-mile-per-hour winds and even 52-mile-per-hour winds according toward Portland. So many of these areas lost power because of the winds that passed through yesterday. So power crews are going to be out trying to restore power. But in the meantime, a couple areas that saw snow, 11 inches in Jonesboro, that's over in Washington County, and 7.5 inches near Seawall, and that's further off towards the south and west. So a lot of snow along the coast, not as much further off towards the north and west. And now the area of low pressure is tracking off towards the north and east, so the snow is backing off. We'll still have some clouds today, but gradually breaking up throughout the day. The northeast is starting to look a lot calmer, but we will have another area of low pressure on the way later on this week. So here we go. Partly to mostly cloudy today, and then later on tonight, still some passing clouds that will gradually break up. And then for tomorrow, we'll have more clouds moving in. There's some snow right there by about midday. We'll see most of the snow backing up, but still a few snow showers as we head towards early Thursday morning. Not a lot of snow, though, about 1 to 2 inches possible before we're all finished up. So nothing too dramatic compared to what we had recently. So overall for today, here we go. 30 degrees, partly cloudy, maybe mostly cloudy and windy. Northwest wind at about 30 miles per hour. By tonight, partly cloudy with a low near 0 and the wind overall looking nice and calm. And then for tomorrow, 33 degrees, mostly cloudy with snow and that southeast wind near 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast. Partly cloudy for your Thursday with highs in the mid-30s. Mid-30s again for your Friday under a mostly sunny sky. Mostly cloudy again for your Saturday with highs in the low 40s.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
When lives are on the line, they don't hesitate to run towards danger. Unfortunately, the same gear that protects them from deadly flames can be hazardous to their health. Senator Susan Collins to the rescue. Susan helped introduce legislation that protects firefighters and first responders from cancer-causing forever chemicals in their equipment. Because their job is dangerous enough. Call Senator Collins and thank her for protecting Maine's first responders.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is The Perfect Line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after.
This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Downtown Bangor will have a new hub for visitors and entrepreneurs. The city is getting a new welcome center. The center will be located at 33 State Street, or as many of the locals know it, the old Bangor Hydro building. The Downtown Bangor Partnership has relocated its offices to the Landmark building. It will also be home to WKIT and Mix Maine Media. A statement says the Welcome Center will have dedicated space to host a gallery or a pop-up, plus a small business incubator, which Downtown Bangor hopes will serve as stepping stones and a pipeline for individuals or groups who are looking for an affordable and manageable space to test out the market here. The opening for the Downtown Bangor Welcome Center is planned for sometime during the summer 2026 tourism season. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this morning, but as always, we thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great day, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, he appeared opposite Andrew Dice Clay in Showtime's